There are a lot of train enthusiasts out there. Some folks like to make sure old equipment is preserved and kept running, while others are interested in the railways themselves and the amazing sights and history you can see along the right-of-way. But there's also another group of people who combine those two things into a very unique hobby.
I belong to NARCOA, which stands for North American Railcar Operators Association, and we're a nationwide group that ride on maintenance of way equipment that's no longer being used by the railroads, that they've retired and are up for sale to the public. And you can modify them and join the group and ride on different railroads throughout the United States and also in Alaska and Canada.
There's no doubt these guys have put some miles on these cars. But today, they're not on the main line. Instead, the little machines are giving rides to visitors at the Southeastern Railway Museum in Duluth, Georgia.
We're trying to bring more people and make them aware that this actually exists, that you can do exactly what we're doing right now as far as riding on different railroads with the equipment.
And this is a little different than a normal ride on the rails.
It's not quite like riding a train, and it's not like riding a car. You get to see things on the railroad line that existed back in the early 1900s that still exist today.
Of course, these machines are used for fun now, but they served an important purpose when they were first built.
Originally, they were used to carry railroad workers to sites where they had to work on the rails. It was an easy way for them to transport them because a lot of railroads you can't get to by car anyways. So this was how they went about getting the personnel to the site that had to be worked on.
And by the way, the original hand cars the railroads used did not have motors. You'd need a little muscle to get this thing down the line. But hand cars eventually evolved.
From there, they started putting on smaller engines to try to get them around, and they worked them into what you see now, what we've got, and then these were taken over by the high railers.
Now, you may have seen a high rail vehicle before. They're usually modified trucks with steel wheels that can be deployed to ride on the rails.
When those came into play, they started doing away with the older maintenance-away vehicles, which allowed us to be able to buy them.
Some owners like to restore their cars back to their original look, while others create exactly what they want. And this is a good example of that.
It was originally a Fairmont A4D. I bought it in pieces, so when we were putting it back together again, we made modifications to it where we heightened it, we lengthened it, we put really nice seats inside of it, and we modeled it more after what they referred to as an executive car, which basically the railroad owners, the presidents, and so forth used to use it to basically view the railroad in its entirety so they could see what they were running. But it's the same body that's on the same car that they use for gangs to be able to work on the railroad.
And like any hobby, you learn a thing or two along the way.
It was definitely a wealth of knowledge that I gained from working on my car.
Now, once you've got your car fixed up, it's time to set off on an adventure.
When we normally go out, it will be anywhere from 5 to 35 cars together riding from city to city. And it's just enjoyable to go, be out in the open air and then stop, have lunch in the city, and then turn around and ride back.
Oh, and one more question. What do you actually call these things?
I refer to it as a motor car, but most of the group refer to them as speeders, railroad speeders, and so forth. I refer to it basically as a motor car because people start to understand that it's not a train, but it is an actual car that has a motor on it that rides on the rails.
But no matter what name you're using, there's still something that owners like Ben Harrell want you to come away with after taking a ride.
A different view of the railroad, to understand that what it's actually used for and how commerce uses the railroad to get a product around all through the United States.
Now remember, you can't just go out and buy your own speeder or motor car and ride down whatever tracks you want. The members of NARCOA do this legally with the permission of the railroad they're operating on. If you want to learn more about this organization, visit narcoa.org. And I'll see you next time.